My name's Liz. I'm a composer, a pianist, and a songwriter living in the west coast of Canada, a place where the charm comes from its cultural variety. I find myself quite different from the majority of the mainstream local artists that instead of seeking for inspiration from the outside, such as nature, adventure, and so on, I tend to look inside, exploring thoughts, feelings, pondering on philosophical questions, and analyzing some forgotten aspects of humanity. And I think that's where most of my artistic inspiration comes from. A question that I used to often ask myself is, if I were given the power to go back to the past, being able to make some changes that could make today's life better and easier, what would they be? I have been a classical pianist dedicated to performing and teaching since the beginning of my music career, until I was diagnosed with a fatal disease in my early 20s, followed by a great loss of family. My life was fortunately saved by the surgery, but the damage took my life on a different path. I almost had to quit the stage due to the decay of my stamina and mental health. For a couple of years, I had been living in this endless shame and self-defeat until one day when I was getting rid of some old stuff, I found the pieces I wrote when I was hospitalized. They were themes for each of my teddy bears, music to my favorite poems, or my own poems made into songs. I wrote them as farewell notes for people and things that I felt attached to since I thought I was gonna die. I went through these pieces on my piano, and all the emotions that I experienced during that dark time just blotted in. This even reminded me of my very first composition experience, which dates back to 2008, when the big earthquake hit China, my home country. I wrote a choral piece that was later performed by a youth choir at a prayer concert. So instead of getting rid of those pieces like what I would probably do about changing the past, I decided to finish them, orchestrate them, and polish them up. It was during this process that I realized that my composition approach is very closely locked to the scene or the story. Even when I'm writing something for myself, I tend to imagine a scene or story to fit the music in. My creativity also is always inspired by other art forms such as pictures, literatures, and especially the emotions behind and beyond the contents themselves. The progress of writing is often a journey of self-discovery. It was exactly during these creative progress that I realized all the sufferings I had experienced are actually blessings. I wouldn't be able to deeply empathize the emotions beyond the stories without going through the pain of great loss. If I had not lived in the fear of thinking every day as the last day of my life, I wouldn't have this urge and sensitivity about capturing the beauty in other people's artworks, conveyed through various mediums, and enhance them with my own music skills. And most importantly, being able to look at other people's works with an open mind. So, if I were given the power to change my past, I would simply say no. And this is me, always at the beginning of my life, without regrets about the past, and determined to dedicate my life to composing music that enhances the beauty of other art forms, taking it as a lifelong journey of learning and make the most of it.